Hello, my lovely lords and ladies. It is the Queen Bean here for another video on my channel that I have also recorded 5 minutes since the last one. It's actually been 3 minutes since I recorded the video that went up last week, but we're not going to talk about that because I am back once again in my poncho and my pink llama pants, sitting in the chair in the corner of my room awkwardly, trying not to be too loud as to not disturb my hamsters, but we're going to do this anyways. Huzzah! I'm very sorry. Also, I don't know why I called you my lords and ladies, but that goes perfectly into today's topic, which is princesses, and why everybody seems to hate little girls being princesses, which I honestly don't understand. I was a lovely princess when I was a child. That leg looks overexposed because sunlight. I don't understand why there's an issue nowadays with little girls being princesses. I know when you go to, like, Target or whatever, they have all the princess costumes that have, like, the little gem that has the Disney princess on it. I know most of us little girls probably had one. I didn't have one, because I didn't really like the actual Disney princesses growing up until, Tangled came out. Anywho, except Mulan. Mulan was pretty cool, but they didn't have any Mulan costumes, and also I wasn't Asian, so, no. Anywho. I feel like it's kind of sad now that there are so many issues that are like, in a world full of princesses, be a Batman, and it's just like, so instead of being a wise and just leader who is responsible for many, many people, and who has a lot of responsibility on their shoulders and will learn how to do it and learns from their mistakes. No, instead of being that kind of person, why don't you be an old rich billionaire who, because his parents got killed, decides to go around and beat up people in Halloween costumes, because that's a better use of your time. No, and like, I understand it. I understand the whole, don't push the feminine side, the girly side onto young girls, and I totally understand that because I grew up as a fairly girly girl. I wore skirts like every day, and it was not my mother's fault though. I personally chose to buy skirts, and that's the thing, is if your little girl wants to be a princess, then you have to find a way to turn that into a good thing. I see a lot of this on the internet, and my parents did it too. When I wanted to be a little princess, they would, find a way to turn it into, like, a lesson. I remember when I was in my princess phase at the age of 6, I took toilet paper tubes and I made a little cardboard castle, you know, like you do, because I wanted to have a little castle for my Polly Pocket princesses to live in. And my mom made it with me. We made sure it was structurally sound. I actually only got rid of it a couple years ago. I had that thing for a really long time. And my Polly Pockets lived there. And my mom was like, okay, so who's going to be in charge of your happy little castle? And I sat there and I picked up all my little Disney princess little dolls. Because while I wasn't into them, like, their movie-wise, I still had all their dolls and everything. And I weighed the pros and cons, and I knew immediately Cinderella was not going to be the leader of my frickin' kingdom, because, like, that girl was useless. Useless. Fight me. She was useless. She did absolutely nothing. Like, no. And I knew Ariel immediately could not be the princess because she left her family for a boy. Why would you do that? If you can't handle your oh-so-unfair life being a princess under the sea, then you cannot handle the responsibility of being the queen of my land. So shut up. And the one doll I didn't have was Mulan, and I wanted her to be my, leader, but she wasn't there. I think I ended up settling on Jasmine, which sounds really weird because she left her home, that was the main reason why I didn't want Ariel to be the leader. But I chose Jasmine because she went back and she had beliefs and she didn't want to be treated like an object, which I'm sorry, despite the fact that everybody seems to hate that princess, like, she was freaking amazing. At least she still is. 6-year-old me was, like, super in love with Jasmine. That's a weird sentence. Either way, you know. What was it? I feel like there's a lot. obviously you don't want to push being a little girl and being feminine onto kids before they have a chance to figure themselves out, because it pigeonholes them into something. And I completely understand that. I see it happen a lot of the time. I live with girls who go to school with girls who you can definitely tell that it was pushed on them from a really, really young age, and it's really sad. But I don't know, it gets to a point where if you stop trying to push some sort of thing onto the child, you're going to end up with the entire generation of kids who doesn't know what they're supposed to be. I remember there was an article that went out 2-ish months ago on a celebrity, or not a celebrity, a person who said that we should stop using the word baby and call them babies because a child does not know its gender yet. And I was like, what the fuck? Babies is a gender-neutral term. You do not say baby, and it does not mean male or female. It means a child. It is a living, breathing human. A baby is not a gendered term. There's no point in calling them babies, which is arguably a worse word. And it's so stupid, because I understand that you don't want to force your child to identify as a gender that they're not, but when they are not even a year old, does it really matter if they are identifying or not? No, because I can guarantee you that when you were less than a year old, you didn't even know what the fuck you were. You didn't know if you were a human. You didn't know if you were a plant. You were just kind of living your best life. So anybody who's like, we have to use the babies, it's a gender neutral term, shut your freaking mouth, because it doesn't matter. You don't figure out if you're a boy or a girl. You don't even understand what that means until you're like 5. And then at that point, by the time you're like 3, that's fine if you want to call your child they. It's fine until they figure out that they're a boy or a girl or neither or both. Like, that's fine. But there's absolutely no reason to try and change an entire word just so you can feel validated in your stupid opinion. No, babies is a gender neutral term, and no. And honestly, if you're so worried about being gender neutral, give your child a gender neutral name, like Alex, or Elliot, or Jaden, or Jordan. If you're so worried about gender identity, actually give them a gender neutral name so it makes sense. So they don't end up as a boy named Stacy, but God forbid, somebody call your daughter, who is actually a boy, heaven forbid they call them a baby because it's a gendered term. See, this is my issue. That's my issue. Is like there is a point where you don't want to push this kind of agenda onto your kids, but at the same time, like, shut up, because you're gonna end up, and as an ally and as somebody who is a part of the LGBT community, I understand that we need to be recognized, but at the same time, we're kind of pushing our homosexuality onto everybody else. And that's not me being a bitch about it. That's me being true, is the fact that a lot of gay people need to feel validated in their sexuality, so they feel the need to push it onto everybody. Like, hello, my name is X. I'm gay. Like, we get it. You don't have to share it with everybody, and the fact that you're telling everybody means you need to feel like being gay means something more than just liking somebody of the same gender. That's not true. If we keep doing this, if we keep breaking down these barriers that sound like a good idea, we're going to end up with so many generations of kids who don't know what it means to be a person. If we keep gender neutralizing everything, and then we're just going to end up with a bunch of kids who identify as they, and we're not going to have boys or girls, and it's going to be fucking stupid. Princesses. I like the new generation of princesses. I think they're really cool. One of my favorite princesses growing up was always Tiana, because she was a working class girl. She had a dream. She knew what she wanted. She was hella sassy in all the right ways, and she was not about to get pushed around by a man. Also, I loved the 2D animation that they had. The 2D animation is probably some of my favorite. I think it's really cool and pretty. I love the 3D animation, don't get me wrong. And I love how each princess upgrades not like upgrades, but like there's always something fun and new. I don't know. Except for Anna. Anna pisses me off. I hated that. I hated her. She threw caution out of the wind because she was lonely, and I don't understand. I understand longing for human contact, but you meet a strange dude and you knock him into a boat, and you're in love! Oh my god! And I understand people fall in love in their own ways and yada yada yada, but like, to that extent, you don't hit somebody, make them fall into a boat, and just fall in love. And honestly, there's a point where even if you're so starved for physical affection, just about everybody is gonna look at the creepy dude who told her he wants to marry her while knowing you for 2 hours. That's generally a pretty big red flag. Wanting to get married after 2 hours. That's generally something that is used in not so great places, like drugs and getting drunk, and you get married after you meet somebody for 2 hours, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh fuck, I'm married. Ooh heck. Oh heck. Heckles no. Holy heckles no. Anywho, no. And I'm sorry. Being a princess, being called princess, it was such a great feeling, because when you grow up with all these role models, being called a princess was always a really cool feeling for me. I thought it was so cool that I could be called a princess, because that meant that somebody thought I was pretty enough, smart enough, kind enough, everything enough to be considered royalty in a way. And it's not that I felt happier being called a princess. It's just like, when you stop being called that because you get too old for it or whatever, usually also happens around the same time that, being a teenager happens, and all the self-doubt and the worrying and the stress and the, what's it called? Self-deprecation comes in. It's just, every once in a while, I bet it would be really cool just to be called princess again. And I know there are families out there who still call their daughter's princess. But I'm in a weird situation. I don't have a dad, and by that I don't mean my mom is a lesbian. I mean that I haven't had a dad since I was 9 years old, and that's a video for another day. But it's, my dad called me princess, and sometimes I feel like it would be nice to be called princess again, but at the same time it's a very emotional word, and if I ever got called it again, especially by somebody who I don't have feelings for, somebody called me it last year, and I didn't try, that's a lie, I threatened to stab him with a pencil. So it's a touchy word in my household, but I think it's a word that you shouldn't really be able to outgrow being called princess, because it's a fun word. It's a cute word to be called by your dad or your boyfriend or something, or even just a good friend. I feel like if I had a guy friend who's comfortable enough with me to call me princess, that everything would be pretty alright. Except my guy friends are stupid and don't understand my feelings. So, we're gonna move past that. Anywho, I think that being a princess is fun, and I understand that you don't want to push gender stereotypes onto people, but we usually have this issue about not pushing being a princess onto girls. We have no issues about pushing sports onto boys. And I feel like if you're going to try and gender neutralize the entire world, you should at least do it for both parties and not just your little girl, because there's an entire other gender out there who also has things being pushed onto them. And if you really cared, you would fix it for both people. And that's my last opinion. And that's where I'm going to end today's video. It got super weird, honestly. Sorry about that, but kind of not sorry at the same time, because I feel like it needed to be said. At least I needed to say it. And yeah. So, thanks so much, guys. Until next time, I am Bean. I am signing off. And I love you guys. Bye.